I'm Dr. Matt Sheehan. I'm a chiropractor at Medford Family Chiropractic Center, Medford, Oregon. And today is September 22nd, 2021. And I'm here today to have a chat with my friend Kris Kokay, who moved into our office here in Medford about a month ago. Kris is an acupuncturist who's been in practice for about 17 years now, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Kris has a really interesting story, and my interest today was mostly to help reintroduce Kris to the community, because he's been away for a couple of years, and I wanted to help his patients to know as quickly as possible that Kris is back, and to help him share his fascinating story. So Kris, welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, so great to have you here. You and I met, I remember, when we were all practicing, you and I and Susanna Graven, the massage therapist, who was also practicing here, right down the hall with us in this building. We were all practicing pretty much side by side over on East Main Street. You were with Jerry Senegals, the acupuncturist, right?
Yep. Yeah, I worked with Jerry for probably about 8 years at the Medford Acupuncture Clinic. And that's where I met Matt and Susanna.
Yeah.
After about 8 years working with Gerald, I decided I wanted to go into practice for myself and practice a little differently. And so I opened up the Rogue Valley Community Acupuncture Clinic, mainly focusing on painful conditions, but I treated everything from digestive disorders to insomnia to asthma. But my main focus was treating painful conditions. Then I came down with an autoimmune condition, which I eventually had to stop working. So I was working, everything was going well, and actually it started with I had my daughter, who is 5 now, and is the love of my life. But that, having a child, as anyone knows, is very stressful. And that triggered a response of fear and insecurity that I hadn't experienced since I was a little kid.
Wow.
All sort of childhood stuff that just came up, and it was very difficult, actually. It would come and go, but and all the techniques that I would use with my patients to help them with their fear and insecurities, nothing was working with me. It was something that I just had to go through, and it was pretty intense. And I remember one day falling to my knees and having a download of information. That's the only way I can describe it.
Because I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm just thinking time-wise, or we're in the chronology. How many years ago was this?
Oh, this was about three and a half years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so about 3.5 years ago, I just I fell to my knees, and I had this download of information that I was going to go through a apocalyptical health challenge, and it was going to annihilate every aspect of my being. And I stood up, and I pretended like it didn't happen, because I did not want to go through this. I had an understanding of what these things could be like.
So can I ask you, when you say you had a download of information,
yeah,
I get that from hearing that sort of explanation from other people at various times, but there's probably a lot of people who are watching this who have no clue what you're talking about. Is there any other way you can describe that might help people to understand what you mean by that?
It was just an overwhelming feeling. It was an overwhelming feeling. It wasn't like I heard words. It was this overwhelming feeling.
Like an intuition.
Like an intuition, right, exactly.
I see.
And so I was going to go through this apocalyptical health challenge, and it was going to annihilate every aspect of my being. And I got up, pretended it didn't happen. I was like, I can't deal with this. That's not true, actually. I was in such a state of fear and insecurity that the words came out of my mouth. It was like, all right, if we have to go through this, let's do this. That's how much fear I was in, and I knew how bad it could possibly be somehow. I don't know how I knew, but then I got up and I pretended that it didn't happen. I pretended that whole thing didn't happen. That's just in my head. It's just my, I'm just worried and just some fear-based thing or something. Yeah. Anyway, a few months later, I started noticing my toes going numb.
Wow.
And still at this point, I had even forgotten about that. I was like, oh, just didn't want to recognize that. I was like, I've had a lot of back injuries. Then I started seeing chiropractors, acupuncturists. Nothing is responding. It's just getting worse. And then a couple months later, I noticed it's in the hands. They're getting numb. And at this point, I knew this is what was happening. And I had another intuitive feeling that this was it, this was that apocalyptic challenge I'm going through, and that nothing was going to work. That whatever treatment I was going to do, it wasn't going to work. And in fact, it's going to get so bad that I'm going to have to try to kill myself. And that isn't going to work. And then after I fully try to kill myself, then I'm going to slowly get better. So at this point, I'm just thinking, this is just insanity. Like, this is just my head messing with me. And I was like, screw this. I've got a 2-year-old daughter at this point. I've got all the connections in the health field. Like, I'm going to beat this. Like, I'm built to beat this. Yeah. I'm going to go on the proper diets. I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to do, if I have to go through every Western doctor, I will. I'll take any drug. I'll do it through anything. I'll go through surgery. Whatever needs to happen, I'm going to do it. I'm going to beat this.
Right.
And I went to hypnotherapists, and I was practicing EFT, meditating, prayer every day. It was just what I was going to do. I was determined.
Did you go through some nutritional assessments as well?
Yeah. Did all the food allergy tests. I did every blood test you can imagine.
So standard allopathic medicine as well as everything alternative thing you can think of. You exhausted your options.
Yeah. I went to 4 different naturopathic doctors, 2 different neurologists.
Wow.
I traveled up to Portland. I went to a neurological specialist acupuncturist in San Jose. I mean, I even tried shaman. I mean, I tried literally everything. Because I had so many connections, I had also all these different modalities to try. It was almost overwhelming.
Yeah.
But nothing would work, and it was just this overall feeling of this is just what I have to go through. But I kept pushing it down. I was like, no, I don't accept this.
Yeah.
I'm getting better.
Yeah.
But I always felt underneath this feeling like it wasn't going to work, and even though on the surface, I was like, I don't accept this. I'm going to push through. I'm going to figure out how to do this, and I'm going to beat this thing.
Wow.
So, I mean, even with the Western doctors, I had nurses come to my house every 2 weeks for IVIG therapy, where they hooked me up to an IV and pump some drug in me.
IG is?
IVIG, so it's...
Immunoglobulins?
Yeah, and immunoglobulins.
White blood cells?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so... let's see, I heard you started out saying I think your feet were going numb?
Yeah.
Your toes were going numb? Can you just fill us in a little on the progression? How debilitating it was?
Well,
it sounds like it could have been a million things starting that way. What was the progression for you?
Well, it started from the toes, then up to feet, and then just all the way up the legs, and then leading to atrophy and inability to walk properly. Eventually, I was bedridden for 2 years, where I couldn't get out of a chair without help. And
did the progression stop at your waist?
Yeah, it stopped at the waist. There's numbness and still is in the mouth and the lips, but it was just it's just the lips, and there was the hands. It was going up the arms and up the legs, but there was also this overwhelming fatigue that just couldn't do anything. And my cognitive function was really bad too. Definitely, it was difficult to really think and process things.
And I can imagine with all those symptoms, all the various neurological possibilities, you could spend so much time, so much money pursuing all those.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
And then the alternative approach with lupus, and just a million different things, the bacterial infections, viral infections, so many different things that they would have to rule out that would also be just daunting.
Yeah, the testing was very daunting. It was very burdensome. So basically I got diagnosed with an autoimmune condition called CIDP, or chronic inflammatory demyelinating polyneuropathy, which basically the myelin sheath of the nerve endings have just degenerated. So it's very similar to...
So just for our listeners who are not medical nerds like us.
Mm-hmm. Oh, right.
So chronic, what was it? Chronic degenerative?
Chronic inflammatory demyelinating polyneuropathy.
Okay, so demyelinating. So the myelin sheath is, what's your understanding?
Well, that's the wrapping of the outer covering of the nerve. And so when that starts degenerating, your nerve function goes down.
Right. Conduction of electricity through the nerve, and nerve impulses goes down.
Right.
And polyneuropathy. So poly meaning multiple,
yeah.
and neuropathy just meaning a pathology or a problem with the nerves,
Right.
multiple nerves.
Yeah.
And probably also the spinal cord, possibly even the brain,
Right.
I'm assuming, because you also had some cognitive or mental difficulties, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. The disease is very similar to MS. It's pretty similar anyway.
That was going to be my next question. It sounds
Yeah.
just like MS.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very similar to it.
But it looks somewhat different.
Right. The treatments are different. The treatments are different for MS as opposed to the CIDP. And CIDP is a rare condition, whereas MS is very.
Did they give you, what did they give you as far as a prognosis?
Well, they thought basically, from what my understanding was, there's a 70% success rate in the treatment, but then there's the 30%, they just don't respond, and
Okay.
that's just so
Okay.
it's better than nothing. But there's still there's a certain amount of people that just don't respond to the IVIG, and then I even tried plasmapheresis, where they installed a port in my chest and they pulled out all the plasma in my body, which is very crazy.
And the plasma is the fluid, and some people wouldn't know what plasma is. The blood.
Oh, in the blood, right? Yeah.
Clear fluid in the
Yeah.
blood. Yeah.
They
Okay.
pumped me up with some drug, and that was supposed to work, but that didn't work either. They tried me on high doses of prednisone, 100 milligrams a day, which made me crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, that was tough. Eventually, through all sorts of testing through a naturopath, we found out that the most likely the cause of the disease was from my exposure to Roundup or glycophosphate, because I lived on a vineyard for 6 years, and I'd walk my dog twice a day on the vineyard. I was always outside. I even walked barefoot. So,
I hadn't heard this piece.
Yeah.
Wow,
So,
glycophosphate.
Glycophosphate, yeah.
Which
So-
is the main ingredient in Roundup.
Yeah, it goes on all the fruits and vegetables, basically.
So did they find that in high concentration?
Very
in
high.
your- and was it in a tissue sample or your blood or?
A urine sample, I believe.
Urine sample.
Yeah. So a urine sample.
Wow. So have you? Boy, that blows my mind. So, are you involved in any of the lawsuits?
No,
I
I looked.
There's some.
Yeah, I looked into that, and there's all sorts of lawsuits against Roundup, but it's only if you have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Yeah. I called them up, and they're like, if you don't have that, we don't have anything for you.
Wow.
So it's
Wow.
like, okay.
So the next logical question, of course, would be if a naturopath found that in high concentration, I'm assuming they would set you up on a cleanse of some sort to try and lower your body burden, as we call it, of glyphosate. Is that?
Yeah, the
is that what
glycophosphate.
they do?
Yeah.
Glycophosphate.
Yeah, no, and I still am taking herbs to get rid of the glycophosphate.
Yeah.
But
How are your levels doing? Are they starting?
I haven't retested them.
Oh, okay.
I just haven't retested them. I did, so I take all sorts of herbs to purge the liver. But as anyone knows, if you go to a naturopathic doctor with a serious condition, they hand you a bucket full of herbs, and you got to take this, then that with food, this, and my hands didn't even work, so it was hard to
Wow.
even
Yeah.
to just formulate it. It was so overwhelming.
Yeah.
And my mom was helping me. She is my savior through all this. She was my caregiver. But then she was so stressed, it was hard to get her to just to do it too. So it's very, very daunting when you go to a naturopathic doctor and they hand you $1,000 worth of herbs and this with that, and then you're on this special diet. For 6 months, I was pretty much on a fruit, meat, and vegetable diet, the paleo autoimmune. I tried the keto autoimmune diet for 2.5 weeks. I almost went nuts on that. 'Cause
Okay.
the fruit was the one joy I had in life, was
Oh,
eating fruit.
Right.
But none of that helped. None of the diet didn't help. Nothing helped. I still had this sense that this wasn't, like, I just had to go through this. Like, this wasn't for me to beat.
I see.
This
So you're
is
still
for
getting that
me to-
strong intuition.
Yeah, there's still a strong intuition that this is something I've just got to go through.
Okay.
And it's not something that I can beat or hurry.
And did you have any sense at the same time that there was a light at the end of the tunnel, that you can anticipate you're going to get any better? Or is this your plight in life for the rest of your life? Did you have any sense of that intuitionally?
It was going to get so bad that I was going to have to kill myself. Like, this was constantly, like, when I really felt into it, of what was going to happen. It was, I wasn't going to get better until I hit bottom.
And from what I remember you telling me before, though, the big piece of that, if I remember you right, was that you were going to attempt to kill yourself, but
it wasn't going to work, or it wasn't going to work, or at the last minute. I didn't know that it wasn't going to work, because that's scary. Because what does that mean?
Yeah,
like,
right, exactly.
Half dead, something, it was terrifying. This whole thing was absolutely just terrifying, and I'm in a chair for 2 years, and it's not like, all right. I was like, is it time to kill myself? Because this is terrible. Like, this is just absolutely terrible. Wow. You just go through these moments of where, like, you literally think you're going to lose your mind when you just can't move. Because your whole body is just in this anxious state. Your body has an anxiety.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, also to make things worse, is I didn't sleep at all. Because if you're not moving all day, it's hard to sleep at night.
Yeah.
So you're just in this 24-hour of just uncomfortableness.
And also, I imagine that's really taking its toll on your, like you said, your cognitive function. We know lack of sleep after a while, it causes horrible effects on the nervous system in general. Wasn't helping any.
No.
Wow. Okay, so then what happened next? Gradually, did you notice any? Oh, yeah. All right.
It just kept getting worse, and then it just kind of really would just plateau, where I just got to the point where I could only walk with a walker just to get to the bathroom and back, and that was it. Wow. But the saddest and the toughest part was not being able to father my daughter. I missed 2 years of her life, and I was really close with her for her first 2 years, and she'd come over, and I would just cry. Not in front of her, but it was just I couldn't even read her a book. Couldn't do anything. I was just a lump of coal.
Wow. And were you with did you have a partner at this time, or were you guys separated? Or?
We were separated. We were separated. I had to move out of the house because my mom had to take care of me.
Wow.
Because my partner couldn't take care of me and a 2-year-old.
Yeah, totally.
So this was just my existence of just going through this. Now, luckily, there wasn't severe pain. I've always been grateful. I haven't had severe pain. It's just this numbness, and fatigue, and weakness, and this. Wow. It felt awful, but it wasn't that stabbing pain that some people have with neurological conditions. So I'm very grateful for that. So this went on, and I actually went to. I stopped doing everything. I was just like, all right, look, I've even stopped taking herbs. I stopped the diet. I was like, this is how I need to be. This is how I need to be. Yeah. And I tried to take that attitude. And after a while, my mom's like, look, let's go to Mexico and get some stem cells. I was like, all right. And I even canceled the trip. I was like, I don't want to go. And this was during when COVID first started. I was like, I don't want to. I don't want to get COVID and be in a Mexican hospital. Like, what is that?
Yeah.
I mean, and then
goes from bad to worse, right?
Yeah, it just goes. I don't have a problem dying, but dying in a Mexican hospital, this just doesn't sound good at all to me.
Yeah, in any hospital, but
in a foreign country,
foreign country, not in your own country,
where I don't speak the language. Yeah. It's just terrifying. It's just terrifying. I got nothing against. I love Mexico. Actually, when we went, so we actually went to Mexico, and. I had to get wheelchaired up on the plane. It was just a big ordeal, which was, that was actually, it's fine. But so when I get to Mexico, and then I had this sense again, or it was just like, this is just this intuition, like this, you needed to come to Mexico. Because I've always had a strong connection with Mexicans and Hispanics in general. Mm-hmm. Just lovely people. And I loved even being in the Mexican. It wasn't a hospital; it was just a treatment center, and everyone was so friendly, and it felt like I needed to be there. But it also felt like this wasn't going to help. And this was day 3 of a 3-week course of treatments, and so and I just got worse. I got worse when I got there. It was very bad. It was tough to even walk with a walker. There were points where I couldn't even feel my hands on the walker. And so I'm just like, bleh.
Oh, it's terrifying. And what was the treatment they were doing?
They were doing stem cells, and then
stem cells.
I had stem cells, 3 treatments of stem cells in 3 weeks, and then a bunch of different other treatments to try to help me heal. But that didn't work. After 3 weeks, I went back home. Felt good to be back home, And I kind of settled in. After about 4 months went by, I knew the stem cells weren't going to, it just wasn't going to happen.
Right.
And yeah, so then I had this kind of intuition where I would have fallen to the ground, but I was on my walker and I wouldn't have been able to get back up. But it was that intense that I was going to go through another apocalyptic challenge.
Oh.
And at this point, I'm just like, all right, let's just do this here.
Wow.
And the next day, the Alameda fires burnt down my clinic and the house that I was living in.
So you lost everything.
I lost everything, yeah.
Your career, your body,
Yeah.
your house,
Yeah.
and your office.
In my office, everything.
But not your daughter.
Not my
your
daughter.
mom.
No. I didn't lose the people I love, so
Right.
that was the only thing that matters.
Wow.
And it didn't. And so then we went up. Actually, so the only place we had to live was out in Road River, which was on a 20-acre property, about 45 minutes out of town.
Where had you been living?
In Phoenix.
Phoenix.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were in Phoenix. So my friend had an extra place, so me and my mom moved into a one bedroom. And we lived there for about a year. And I thought, well, this is a beautiful place to heal. You know, still open to healing.
Yeah.
I was like, this would be a beautiful place for me to heal and bounce back, or it'd be a beautiful place to die too. I never had a problem with death. It was just, and I'm getting. So after a few months of living there, my body's not healing. It's the same thing. It's, and I was just asking. It's like, all right, this is. Is it time for me to go? And it's like, not yet. It was not, I couldn't do it, until it was time. And eventually I started calling people. It became time. I just started to know that it was time. I did a very high dose of psilocybin to just help me kind of prepare for death, honestly, and just
psilocybin, for those who don't know.
Yeah, the mushrooms. Yeah,
Magic mushrooms.
Magic mushrooms.
Psilocybin, high dose.
A high dose of psilocybin. I needed a high dose because my nervous function wasn't working, so I had a friend who muscle tested me, and was like, "You're going to need a very high dose."
I see. And let me ask you. Yeah. So, just to be clear, so were you thinking that the very high dose of psilocybin would be your way to check out, or just to put you in a state where you would be amenable to ending your life, or was that before all that?
Yeah, it kind of did. I didn't think it was going to help me check out. I didn't have that sense.
What was your sense that you were doing the psilocybin for? What did you want to get from it?
It was to just kind of ask, is this really
to get more clarity?
Get more clarity. Just see what it had to tell me. I've used psilocybin in the past, and I've really found it helps connect me with divinity, and so so I took this dose, and it was like, no, it's time to go. It's time. You're not. This is what you have to. This is the path you have to go through. Okay. And I tried to ask when, but the time doesn't really. You don't get an answer in time necessarily. But it was the time will come when the time has come. But yes, you're not going to heal. You're going to. It's time to go.
So let me ask you.
Yeah.
Were you getting the sense that you were not going to be successful, you were going to attempt but not be successful in that? Or were you getting the sense at this time in the chronology that you were going to be successful and that it really is time for you to go and you're going to check out?
So there was the sense that it wasn't going to work, but I couldn't have that attitude. I had to go full blown. Like I couldn't just be like, oh, look at me.
Right.
It had to be like, let's get all our resources and let's go full blown, and we have to put all our energy into checking out.
Okay.
It was that. But there was this little bit like, that's not going to work, but you've got to go full blown. You can't half-ass this.
Yeah.
You got it, and so as you start researching the ways to go, it's not that easy. This is not easy to do this. And luckily, I had a friend who had been suicidal when he was 17, so he knew what I was going through. And if you've never been there, you don't know. You can judge people all you want, but like when you get to that point, like it just becomes impossible. It becomes impossible to live. Now, he got to that point in the very last minute when he had the gun to his head. He had a vision, and all of a sudden his life had purpose, and his life's had purpose ever since.
Wow.
So, So essentially, a similar situation happened with me. I didn't have a vision, but let's see.
Did you? Yeah. So did you have another intuitive hit when you were coming to the edge, when you were getting close to actually?
Yeah, it just felt like
checking out?
time. As it kept going on, it just felt like, and I became really at peace too with dying. Like it just
Yeah.
like, oh, this is my life had felt complete. It just really felt complete. Like I was like, oh, I'm ready to go. And I hadn't ever had a problem with death.
Okay.
My problem was being crippled.
Yeah.
Actually, that's how I lived my life. It's like if I ever got crippled, like I'm just gonna allow myself to kill myself, and I'm not gonna live as a cripple. Like, that was a judgment I had, an identification that I couldn't be crippled.
Okay.
Um,
So how were you going to do it? What was your method that did you choose a method? Were you that far along in the towards checking out that you had?
Yeah,
found
well, as I searched the easiest way, I wanted it as painless as possible, so I researched a drug called Nebutol, which used to be a sleeping medicine pill that doctors would prescribe, but they don't prescribe it anymore because of that. So you can't.
Because people would use it
Yeah,
to OD
they would
to
use it.
die. I see.
So I'd go on the internet, and I was like, oh, I'd want to order on the internet, and let's see, and they're all fake. So I ended up ordering it. Even someone said there's an ad that says, don't buy Nebutol on the internet. They're all fake. Buy from these sites. These are legit. I bought from that site, and they were fake.
Oh,
So
wow.
and they had a whole website called Peaceful Pills, like all of this whole thing. They really sounded like they were really trying to help people.
Okay.
But yeah, that just ripped me off of $700. It was just
Wow.
yeah.
You didn't get anything?
No, nothing. It was just a scam.
Wow.
But,
Okay. So what'd you settle on?
That's probably good that was, because if they would have sent it to me, that probably would have worked.
There you go. And you're still here.
Yeah, I'm still here.
So you failed. Thank God.
Yeah. So
Okay,
failure
good.
isn't always bad.
Right. Okay.
So anyway, what had happened? Okay, so it's getting close, and I start talking to people, and I'm calling my friends. I'm like, look, this is time. I'm just saying goodbye. Like, this is going to happen. As I started doing this, it felt closer and closer. Like, oh, it's getting time. And after I called the last person, I was like, oh, it's time. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to just really enjoy. I'm just going to do a week or two. I'm going to hang out with my mom and my brothers, and I'll go eat some nice food, and just I don't want to rush this. I want to just. Then all of a sudden, I started getting these terrible, excruciating pains in my lower intestines and bladder. And I mean, just my face would turn white. It was just awful. And I was like, I'm not going to go to the hospital and have them try to figure this out. Like, I'm already trying to check out here, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So after the fourth night of that happening, I was like, I'm enough. It's like I called my friend over and was like, I'm in this intense pain. Like, it's just, I want to go anyway. It's time.
Yeah.
So I tell my mom, this is time. It's time to go. And obviously that was very, can't imagine what she had to go through for that. But
agony.
So,
and I imagine also, it just popped into my head that it was probably so difficult also to say goodbye to your daughter.
Yeah, I couldn't even do that.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen her for a couple months. I was like, I couldn't possibly do that.
Wow. Yeah.
I had a life insurance policy. I was like, I can't be a father to her now. At least she's going to have some money to help her,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awful, but no, I couldn't say goodbye to her. That wasn't strong enough for that.
Yeah. I don't blame
And
you.
I'm glad I didn't, because that wouldn't have been helpful at all to her.
And she is how old at this time?
She was I guess 4 at the time. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, she was 4 at the time. So I called my friend over, and the idea was I had 16 Ambien left, and I'm going to take 16 Ambien, and I know that's not going to kill me, but I had a little plastic bag, and so I put the plastic bag, this fit perfectly on my head, and once the Ambien kicked in, I was going to slide it over, and my friend was going to make sure that it happened.
Oh,
It
God,
was just
horrifying.
Yeah, it was quite the Zen experience of swallowing 16 pills and just being like, all right, it's like, here we go, bags on the head. I'm trying it out. Like, yep, this is gonna be perfect. This is gonna work. Anyway, after 45 minutes, the Ambien doesn't kick in, and typically after 10 minutes, one Ambien will knock me out for 8 hours.
Really?
Yeah. So this is 45 minutes. Nothing's kicking in.
It was not your time.
It was not my time.
Wow.
And then about an hour, I'm like, we got to do something because I don't want brain damage. Like
Yeah.
this. I don't want to add that to whatever's going on.
Right.
So it was December, and he was like, let's fill the bathtub up with freezing cold water, and that's going to help. After about 10 minutes in freezing cold water, you're going to just fall asleep. And then after about 4 hours, your body's not going to, you're just going to die. It's going to be a peaceful way to go. I was like, all right, let's do it. It's like, you're going to have to get in there. I look at him, I go, whatever happens, do not let me out of here. Like, this is what needs to happen. He's like, all right, I'm not going to let you out.
Okay.
Anyway, so I remember getting in the tub, and I remember thinking, oh, this isn't that cold. And then I blacked out. This was at noon. I wake up at 9 o'clock, and my first feeling is like, all right, I'm dead. And I'm not dead. I'm in the Grants Pass Hospital in the emergency room, psych ward. There's a cop outside my door.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah, and what had happened was, I guess I was still talking to my friend, and I was unaware of this. I blacked all this out. I guess the Ambien kicked in with the cold water, and I was in like an Ambien daze.
Wow.
So, after about an hour and a half, and then my body would heat the water up, and then he would fill it back up again, and so it was this constant cold. It was up to my neck. After an hour and a half, he said, this is not what I signed. I can't do this anymore. I was like, we got to call the ambulance and come and get you.
Wow.
So the ambulance comes and get me. They do a CT scan. I got no brain damage. I didn't lose any toes. I had no hypothermia. It was like Bill Murray in Groundhog Day. I woke up.
Oh, man.
If anything, I was a little better after all this, which was crazy.
Interesting.
And so I went through like a few days of just absolute horror. I was like, oh my God, I'm crippled. No one's going to help me now.
Wow.
I'm stuck here. But then I had this realization. It was like, I just got to go through this. Like, there's nothing I can do. It's like, I've just got to go through this. And I accepted being crippled. I fully accepted being crippled for a very long time. And since then...
Very long time, meaning like
it
from
may
that
be,
time...
Yeah, it may be 20 years I got to live like this.
Oh, I see. You're accepting that it may take the rest of your life.
Right. The rest of my life, and my life might last for decades like this.
Wow.
And this has always been my nightmare as a child.
So that was really you had to go through that to get on the other side of that, to have a period of complete acceptance.
Yes.
As opposed to fighting it and saying, nope, if I ever get there, I'm checking out.
Right.
And now you're like, I give up.
Yeah, it took that. That's how strong my fear of being crippled was, or Yeah. It was that strong. It took me to have to go all the way to the bottom and deal with that.
Wow. This sounds like the epic journey, the dark night of the soul.
Yeah, the dark couple of years of the soul.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. But ever since then, my body has slowly been recovering. And
and when was this? How long ago was that?
This was in December.
December.
Yeah, so this was 9 months ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that recent. Okay.
So yeah, after even 3 months, all of a sudden I've had more strength and more energy, and my upper leg strength started coming back. And then about 6 months later, all of a sudden I go to a physical therapist, and they give me braces, because one of the things I've got is drop foot, so these braces keep my foot at a 90-degree angle.
Both feet?
Yeah, both feet. And so I can walk around now with these braces and a cane, and I'm able to work. And I've got my energy's back to where it should be. My upper body strength is pretty much where it was. It's not completely back. And my upper leg strength is pretty close to where it's at as well.
Wow. What percentage would you say you're back? What does it feel like to you?
50.
About 50%?
Yeah, 50% from where I'm at.
Wow.
Maybe even a little more, actually, 60.
Wow,
Yeah.
it's amazing. So how's your mood? How is your sense of being back in your life? And
it's better than it's ever been. My emotional stability is better than it's ever been in my 45 years. I feel actually better than I've ever felt mentally and emotionally. I don't have that fear that I had before. I'm not saying there isn't moments of fear and anxiety that come through, but not like before.
So are you also referencing the fear that you had raising your daughter?
Yeah, raising my daughter, just fear and just insecurity. It was fear of money problems, which there's even a lot of money in the bank at the time. We had an inheritance, then we blew through it, but it's a completely irrational fear. It was just fear from I don't even know what.
Yeah.
But in fear, insecurity of not being a good enough father.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's now I look back, I don't particularly know what the fear was. It was just this general fear of insecurity. It's insecurity.
And it feels like it's gone.
Yeah, it feels like it's the majority of it is gone. Yeah, there's times that it comes back, but I can move through it, and now the tools that I teach patients to help them move through these things are working with me. So.
Right. Are you doing like ice cold bath therapy with them, or?
No.
Just kidding.
I've tried that since because I was like, well, that cold water actually helped my legs a little bit, but it's...
Or the ambient. It could have been the ambient, you know. I mean,
not touching
try
that stuff.
30, 50, I don't know. Sorry, I'm dark sense of humor. Yeah, so you did try a little ice bath therapy. Because I have heard that people do that with certain things, arthritis and stuff.
A lot of conditions. It doesn't feel right for me at this time.
Yeah.
But,
well, it doesn't... Whatever you were doing seems to be working great.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. And so you started up again with you ran into I think Susanna Graven or had given her a call and
yeah. So the other
looking
thing
for
is
a place.
So once I started realizing like well I could go back to work. Like if my clinic didn't burn down, I'd have patients to call and I could just go right back in. But there's also a sense there need to be a change of how I practice.
Let's dive into that. That's real. At some point, when you decided you wanted to come back into practice, I think you ran into Susanna Graven, the massage therapist here, or perhaps you gave her a call.
I just had a sense to give her a call. I was just, I'm going to call Susanna. I didn't know why. I hadn't talked to her in 7 years or something.
It sounds like your intuition is absolutely leading you right down the garden path with the profoundness of your whole story. So continue.
Yeah, and I called her up and immediately, she invited me with open arms to join the clinic. She told me you were here. I was like, all right, this is where I need to be.
Yeah.
This is where I need to be right now. And
that was about 2 months ago, I think.
Yeah, right about 2 months ago. And so I'm still working with patients with painful conditions, and that's something I've worked on for 17 years, and so that's something I still work with. But I also have had the realization that I have to also at least offer the service of helping patients who are interested to help them shift their consciousness from the closed conscious awareness or the ego. To more an open, expanded awareness of opening up to the different experiences if they're interested. So almost like a shaman type of practice, except I don't feel like I'm going to use plant medicine at this time, but I feel like I can help patients who are interested get the lessons that you get from plant medicine. So plant medicine can be used for all sorts of healing modalities, dealing with trauma, and there's really no substitute for that. But ultimately, the lesson that you get after you've worked through your trauma is that you are divinity expressing itself in this particular way. Pretending a game, pretending to be little Kris or little Matt, and not little in a bad way, it's just, you wouldn't know what little or big was if it wasn't little. So in the same way, you wouldn't know what an open, expanded awareness is if you didn't experience the closed. So people who are interested in experiencing or moving through life in a more open, expanded way, I feel like that is how I want to work with people and help people flow with life instead of resisting it.
That sounds fantastic. And so I'm wondering if your previous experience, it sounds like you've had some experience with some mind altering, some with mushrooms perhaps in the past, because you had taken them while you were approaching checking out to get clarity. So I'm assuming you had some previous experience with it before that?
Yeah, I never took any drugs until I was 38. I just had a sense I needed to not take anything. When my friends were doing LSD and psilocybin, I was like, this is not the time for me. And so actually, yeah, at 38, I had this sense that I was like, all right, it's time to kind of introduce myself to psilocybin, and I did, and it immediately there was no acclimation period of or resistance to it. I immediately felt connected to the trees and just nature and God, and I was like, oh, this is wonderful. And so I'd use psilocybin when it was appropriate for the next couple of years, and it really helped me with that, to understand that I'm not Kris. I'm not this little ego running around trying to rearrange the universe and never getting it right.
Right.
I'm actually divinity playing this game. And this game is beautiful, it's perfect, but it's not really what I am or who I am. And years of using psilocybin responsibly, it's just more and more become clear that is what's happening. And then after a few years of that, it was, if you use psilocybin responsible, they'll tell you you're going to have a communion with it, and there'll be a time when you don't use it. And so as of right now, I haven't taken psilocybin in over, well, I guess about 8-9 months. Well, it's not something that I use on a regular basis.
So,
right now.
Your experience with psilocybin, did it when you were not under the influence of it, after you came down, so to speak, back to your resting, waking consciousness? It sounded like it really stayed with you therapeutically. It stayed with you, and your consciousness shift stayed with you in your waking life. Yeah. Yeah,
absolutely.
And so you're getting the hit that you want to shift your practice somewhat to help others, you like to help facilitate or co-facilitate people in that journey?
Right. And I feel like I could really help people prepare them for a psilocybin trip and actually help integrate them afterwards. I have no interest in offering the plant medicine to other people. That's not what I feel drawn to do at all.
Yeah, helping them to integrate.
Yeah, helping them to integrate before and after, and help them kind of, and I don't even want to say, almost like coach them and keep them in line of what they learned from the plant medicine.
And would that be, would you incorporate acupuncture or traditional Chinese medicine with that, or is it more?
I would, actually.
Talk way,
there's different
coaching
modalities that can help you with that. But acupuncture in general, one of the things acupuncture does is it moves energy. You keep qi moving, and your body's going to function better. And essentially, what the ego is stuck liver qi. That's my understanding of it. Because it is your resistance. That's what liver qi is. It's that stagnation. It's your resistance to life's changes. But that is your ego. That is your sense of self that is separate from everything. That is judging things, blaming, feeling guilt. But in reality, everything is exactly as it should be. We're just pretending that it's not. And this is creating this sensation of resistance, and it just causes a lot of tension in the body and all sorts of health problems. So with acupuncture, we can help move that liver qi. Breath work is something that I like to teach patients, because getting proper oxygen will really help you open up to life's experiences. There's techniques called EFT, where you tap on acupuncture points, and that can also help you open up and reduce your resistance to life's challenges and experiences. And ultimately, any experience we have is just a different vibration of energy.
That sounds fascinating. That sounds really amazing. And I'm also curious if you would speak to any possible connection. I think it's not simply coincidence that you called Susanna up when this is your direction. Would you like to speak to that a little bit about what possible connection there might be in the future with working with Susanna Graven in our office here, in terms of working with psilocybin and a shamanic path, shall we say? Yeah,
so it was when I called her up and she mentioned she was really on the forefront of working with patients with psilocybin, and she'd taken a lot of plant medicine and found it to be very helpful. Yeah, I was just like, oh, this is who I need to be working with here. We're just right on the same wavelength.
Right, and just so everybody knows, Susanna, the massage therapist, one of the massage therapists, one of 3 in our office here, she has been pursuing shamanic, studying to be a shaman, basically, in Peru, and studying plant medicine and the spiritual connection with plant medicine. And so I think your consciousness, your expanded consciousness, absolutely led you right down the garden path. You know,
Yeah.
said, oh, I'll call Susanna. I don't know how she's doing. We'll just check in, and boom, you know, it's a frequency. I think it's a real frequency resonation thing.
Yeah.
You know, like the tuning forks matching each other in frequency. And you called, and Susanna is, you know, passionately moving in this direction like an express train to be doing that work and to incorporating that work into her life's work. And I think it's fascinating and so exciting to think of you guys teaming up to work with this, to bring it to the valley.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's yeah, it's just I'm very excited and very grateful that this is where I was led, and I'm grateful to be here.
Yeah. And I'm wondering if is there anything you would like your previous patients or future patients to know about your specific direction and your passion these days in terms of your practice, or even anything else about who you are as a person, what you most passionately love to bring to your interaction with patients.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot there.
No, I know. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so yeah, I'm open to working with anyone. If they, if you're not on a shamanic path, but you've just got some back pain, I'm happy to work on you as well. But if you are interested in connecting to the divinity with, your own, using your own words. I don't want to teach anyone anything. I kind of want to guide you and keep you on path based upon your own understanding. Yeah. And I feel like I'm prepared to do that. And I've always felt that, but now I feel like I'm really prepared. This is something that I've always felt for the last 10 years, but I was too comfortable to just practice acupuncture than to put myself out there and be like, I can really help you connect with your higher self. And also, I had to go through what I had to go through. Like, I needed that background story.
Right, yeah.
But I needed to go through, I just needed to go through, I needed to, I just had to go through it.
Yeah.
But now I definitely feel like I'm ready and prepared to work with patients who are interested in that.
And I'm also assuming that there are plenty of alternative ways. You discussed a variety of tools at your disposal to help people to follow their own individual path, and hopefully it will not be for many of us having to go through quite as dramatic a dark night of the soul, or dark year or 2 or 3 of the soul, such as you did, where we come to the point literally of suicide.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can find ways that where we can listen to our intuitive self, or our soul, our higher self, whoever it might be, and be led to our own next level of personal evolution without having to go quite that far in.
Yeah, and most people aren't going to have to go through that. I mean, it's a rare thing that you go through what I went through. Yeah. Everyone's got to go through their ups and downs, and you're going to go through painful experiences, but most people do not go through what I went through. It's just...
Yeah.
But as I looked through my life before that, I actually had a relatively easy existence.
Yeah.
So it's kind of making up for that.
Right. And I do see that in other people's lives. Sometimes we do have to be smacked down before and have things taken away, all the distractions.
Right.
I think taken away, all the stuff where we're comfortable. We're hooked, golden handcuffs. You know, we're hooked into our peaceful existence. That's keeping us from the next vital stage of our personal evolution, if that's why we're really here. You know? And so many of our really powerful shamans in the world throughout history, or whether it's in a different spiritual pursuit with Christianity or whatever pursuit it might be, people often have gone through some hellacious dark nights of the soul,
Right.
and then they come out on the other side and they just blossom, and then they're able to bring this huge gift to humanity.
Yeah.
So having delved into that more, just reading about it than anything else, I'm really excited to see where you take this in the next 10 years. You know.
Yeah, thank you. Me too.
And, I'm so excited, and I'm really excited to be able to bring your skill and your experience to my patients as well as to Susanna's and everybody's here. You're going to boost our ability to help people to just experience greater levels of health in all areas of their lives, and I'm really thankful. So, is there anything else you would like to share with the world before we end this session?
No, I think this was perfect.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Kris, and I'd love to perhaps do another little session sometime soon with bringing in Susanna Graven and have a little chat with the three of us, and
That'd
just
be awesome.
extend this. So, thank you for being with us, and have a wonderful day.